Welcome, everyone, to our monthly Seeds of Impact series that we host. I'm Madlen Saddik, President and CEO of Alameda Chamber and Economic Alliance, and I have two amazing guests with us today. I have Danielle Mieler from the City of Alameda, Sustainability and Resiliency Director. We also have Tim Haines, the General Manager for Alameda Municipal Power. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Oh,
opportunity.
absolutely. We're excited to have you, and we're just going to ask you a few questions, and then we'll go from there. So the first question goes to Danielle, of course. You have been spearheading Alameda sustainability efforts for a while now. For those who do not know who you are and what you do, can you give a snapshot of your role and what sustainability means in the context of the city like Alameda?
Sure, I'm happy to. So, as you mentioned, I'm the Sustainability and Resilience Manager for the city. I work in the Planning, Building, and Transportation Department, and my role is to implement our Climate Action and Resiliency Plan. The plan was originally adopted in 2019, but we just completed an update to the plan that was adopted by City Council earlier this month. And the goal of the plan is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% below 2005 levels by 2030 and to achieve net zero emissions, net zero emissions by 2045. The exciting news is that we're on track to meet our 2030 goals, largely due to the leadership that AMP has demonstrated in delivering 100% clean electricity to all customers since 2020. So we have achieved so far 29% greenhouse gas reduction, and we're on our way towards our 50% goal by 2030. We're doing this through cleaner buildings, cleaner transportation, urban greening, reducing waste, demonstrating leadership in our city operations, and activating the larger community to do their part as well. And then while we're focused also on greenhouse gas reductions, a component of the plan is also about how we adapt to the impacts of climate change that we know are coming and that are here now. And so we're working on that as well.
That's excellent. Thank you. And I know that we did not have that before you came on board. So we're very grateful to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim, it's your turn. You're new to Alameda Municipal Power, correct?
I am, yes.
You are, yeah. So can you share a bit about your background and what brought you to Alameda from California Community Power?
I'm happy to. I think that one thing that I probably need to point out, though, is that I've had a 40-year career, and so I don't think your guests are really that interested in me taking them on a journey through those 40 years. Suffice it to say that what I've been able to do is work within the state of California during those 40 years. A great opportunity to be able to work with municipal utilities. I've been appointed by two governors into different positions within the energy space. I've worked for the independent system operator for the state of California. I've been involved in the California energy crises from the state's perspective and helping the state come to terms with the runaway prices and the blackouts. I had a stop at the California Community Power as an interim general manager for a period of time. But I was introduced to Alameda from some people who I respect, and they had approached me about this time last year indicating that there was an opening for the general manager, and I was asked by City Manager Ott to come and fill that position on an interim basis. And to be honest, I had no intention of ever filling this position permanently. But what I experienced was being won over by the employees of Alameda Municipal Power, the city manager, Ott, and the collegial relationship that she runs amongst the department heads, the board of directors for the Public Utility Board is they're all appointed by the mayor. They represent the community and the values of the community, and the trust that they've shown for the community as well as for AMP. And then finally, it's just the community itself. And so all of those won me over and caused me to alter my plans, which was to be here for a short period of time. And instead, what I've decided to do was stick around in order to be able to help with some of the longer term initiatives that are underway.
Well, we're very glad to have you. And I have to say, city manager always makes the right choices by bringing the right people to our island. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Danielle, so I have another question for you. So, what are the city's top sustainability priorities right now? And how are you planning for short term impact and long term resiliency?
So, we have a number of priorities in the city that are aligned with our climate action and resiliency plan. One of the big ones is we are so lucky to have the resource that we do in AMP and 100% clean electricity that's reliable and affordable. And I'm sure Tim will talk more about that. But our big strategy is to transition our energy use to relying more heavily on that electricity that's locally produced. So transitioning natural gas appliances and buildings to ones that run on electricity is a really huge priority. Those are things like your space heater, your water heater, your stove, and your dryer can all be fully electric in a home, and those are cleaner and safer and more affordable to run. And then, secondly, helping people to choose electric vehicles. We're focusing on expanding public EV charging, and AMP has many programs to support residents and businesses with EV charging. And so, transitioning our vehicle fleet to electric. And then we also have such a walkable and flat community. So we really want to take advantage of getting people out of their cars as much as possible, walking, biking, transit. The city is really focused on improving the infrastructure for those modes of transportation, improving service, and making the roads safer and more comfortable for everybody to use without their vehicles. And then we're working on our urban forest plan, expanding the urban forest and greening the island. And then lastly, sea level rise is a big focus.
Yes.
I think everyone is familiar with the very flat low lying landscape we have here in Alameda. We're an island, so sea level rise is a big threat to us in Alameda, but it's something that we're really focused on, and we think that there's some opportunity by really thinking thoughtfully, planning early to make some decisions that can really help beautify and make Alameda not only a safe place from flooding, but a place that is even more enjoyable on the shoreline and has even more amenities and access for the community on the shoreline.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tim, your turn now again. And now I'd like to ask you about Alameda has a long-standing legacy with public power from Alameda Municipal Power, planning to build on that to support a cleaner, more resistant future. Can you share more about that?
I can, and I think that that's a badge of honor that that AMP has is that we've been able since 2020, as Danielle had mentioned, been able to supply our customer owners with 100% clean power. We're one of the few utilities in the state of California that has been able to do that, and it's a supply that other utilities are going to have to be able to deliver, but we're 20 years ahead of what the mandates are, literally 20 years ahead of the rest of the utilities in California in delivering the 100% power. And so that is something that is a matter of pride for AMP, as well as our ability to be able to deliver that power at 45% below the cost of power.
That's
That
amazing.
it's frankly remarkable, I
Yeah,
think. And
true.
so it was not something that I have any responsibility for, but what I do recognize is that um, others aren't providing 100% clean power, in part because of how expensive it can be. AMP has been able to come to terms with that. And yet, what we have been able to do, as I said, is deliver at a very, very competitive rate. And so, again, part of the promise that we have made to the community. Beyond that, it goes to for me um, when I think about the climate action and resiliency plan that the city has, um, AMP's own strategic plan. The hard work lies ahead,
Mhm.
and that is in regard to what Danielle had mentioned, and that is that we've done an effective job in being able to decarbonize our power supply. But what lies ahead is working with the business and the residential community in order to be able to alter lifestyles, to alter business practices, in order to be able to move them forward with the proper level of incentives, in order to be able to decarbonize the transportation sector, to be able to instill energy efficiency measures within homes and businesses, and to be able to foster a resilient uh, 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 practices within our businesses and our families. And so that's where the real challenge is going to be, and it lies ahead for the community. I think as a result of the recognition that uh, increasing global greenhouse gas emissions
Mhm.
and climate change are an existential threat, and they have to be addressed.
Thank you. That's a great share. Thank you so much for creating that awareness for us. I appreciate it. Danielle, climate risk is very real for Alameda. So, how are you working with the businesses and with Alameda Municipal Power to prepare for the impact of sea level rise and other challenges?
Absolutely. So, as Tim just explained, climate change is an existential crisis for all
Yeah.
of us. I think it's particularly acute here in Alameda. It's something that we feel very acutely. So we're working on plans for sea level rise. We're working on a comprehensive shoreline plan that's going to meet the needs and the requirements that are now in place, but from the Bay Conservation Development Commission. But at the same time, that's going to sort of be a longer range plan. But at the same time, we're working right now on near term projects and near term fixes that we can improve our shoreline and protect our businesses and homes for the long term. So in many parts of our shoreline, we have businesses that are right up against the shoreline. We have a working shoreline in many places where businesses are utilizing the shoreline. We have marinas and yacht clubs and that kind of thing as well. So we're working really closely with those businesses, and we've been in contact with many of them to talk about what the issues are, what the needs are, and how we can work together to support them, and then also to support the city so that we can make sure that we can protect not just the businesses right on the shoreline, but as the flooding kind of comes inland
Right.
behind those businesses, protect the ones that are more inland as well. Um, and I think they all understand the position that we're in and appreciate the opportunity to kind of think about this in a forward-looking way and be collaborative. Um, so I think that's a great opportunity
Yeah.
that we have. We're also really lucky in Alameda that we have such a strong green tech and blue tech kind of business community that's really been developed over a number of years, and we have that's something that we can really leverage to our advantage and build off of. And Tim also mentioned sort of adapting business models for those, for example, contractors who are used to installing heat pumps or used to installing furnaces. How can we help them to focus on not just gas-powered furnaces, but prepare for more electric furnaces and electric water heaters, and using that technology, which is um, amazing technology. It's affordable, it's efficient, it's can make you, the furnaces can make you both heat and
Yeah,
cooling.
true.
So we want to help some of those businesses sort of adapt and lead into the future. Um, we are partnering with AMP on a home electrification fair that's going to take place on May 3rd at Faction Brewing, 1 o'clock. And so that'll be an opportunity to really showcase some of the technologies, some of the businesses and the contractors that are leading in this space, and helping our homes be more efficient and more comfortable for the future.
I have to say, you've been doing a great job in the last couple of years hosting informative workshops and sessions like that that educates the community about everything that you guys are doing at the city. Thank you so much. Your partnership with AMP is amazing. I could not ask for anything better than that. So, Tim, I have a two-folded question for you. First part is, are there any current upcoming projects that businesses should be excited about? And my next part is, how is Alameda Municipal Power supporting commercial customers through programs, rebates, or innovative partnerships?
Um, that the project that really that comes to my mind is a major system study that we have underway that is going to determine what sort of investments are made are needed to be made by Alameda Municipal Power in order to be able to support the Alameda of the future. And so, an example of what this study is going to give consideration to is that currently we have two means by which we receive power from the power grid. And then what we do is we distribute that to all of our customers. But what you see is that this is all designed based on how power had been produced and delivered in the past. And that is big utility scale generation sources that were remote from the customers. What's happening now is that the characteristics of how our customers use our power is changing dramatically, and what we see is that you have businesses and homes that have brought in solar power. You have batteries that have been brought on board, and you have electric vehicles. And this combination of consumption and generation is something that we have to make sure that the power system is designed for, because no longer is the power going to be coming in one direction from these utility scale power plants that are remote, but they're going to be distributed throughout our power system or throughout our customer base. And so we have to make sure that the system is prepared for that change in the characteristic of how the power is produced and consumed within our customers. And so that is a big study that we have underway. It's going to lead to tens of millions of dollars of infrastructure investment that is going to be necessary in order to be able to support Alameda over the next 20 years. In terms of the change in the characteristics of how our customers use our power, it goes back to the programs that AMP has in place that are in support of the climate action plan, and that is that we are incenting programs within businesses and families that lead to more energy efficient use. We are providing rebates in order to be able to help homes and businesses electrify the consumption of their energy, and we are providing assistance in decarbonizing the transportation sector. And so we have programs in place in order to be able to provide the economic incentives that businesses and families will need in order to be able to adapt their lifestyle, their business practice, and to go to lower carbon intensity in their use of the services that we provide. And so, again, it's aligned with what it is that we have with the Climate Action Plan. It follows with AMP's strategic plan, and it will also inform our investment plans that we have in order to be able to support the decarbonization of the island.
I love that. So each one of you shared answers that makes me feel that there's a great collaboration between both of you. So I have a set of questions that I would like to have both of you answer. And I'm going to start with Tim on the first one. How do you work together to ensure alignment between AMP's infrastructure goals and the city's climate action and resiliency plans?
Well, before we started, we joked a little bit, but it starts really, I think, with deference by AMP to the climate action and resiliency plan. And so it's listening carefully to Danielle. And
Aha,
and
okay.
but and so that's really the starting point for us is
Listening to Danielle.
Pardon me?
Listening to Danielle.
Listening to Danielle. I think that's a rather wise approach that we should be taking. As I've said, AMP supplies 100% clean energy
Yes.
to our customers, and what we're going to find over time is that that's going to be increasingly challenging because everyone else is trying to go in that same direction. And so there will be scarcer and scarcer resources that are going to be available. Prices are going to increase. We're going to have to do a lot in order to be able to manage the risk associated with that. But it's a touchstone for the community and as a result for AMP. And so, job number one is for us to be able to continue on the success that we've created. The next is to be able to recognize where the real challenge lies, and that's on the customer side of the meter. And so we have our energy efficiency, we have our electrification, programs, and what we need to be able to do is reinvest in those in order to be able to support our customers who are tending in that direction. And then what we need to do, AMP, is we need to look at what we call distributed generation. And so it's instead of the utility scale resources, it's looking to smaller resources, that solar resources, wind resources that are going to be located throughout the community. And so those are programs that we have underway. We need to be able to build on those. And an example of us building on that is our consideration of participation in the Alameda Aquatic Center.
Yes.
And so, there's a clear line between AMP and the Aquatic Center in that we can provide rebates in order to be able to convert from natural gas to electricity in the heating of the pools. But we are also looking at the opportunity in order to be able to see whether or not we might be able to do more with solar resources in conjunction with EV charging stations that would be available generally to the public. We're looking at the possibility of designing into the Aquatic Center what is called a microgrid. And so with that, what will happen is that we'll have the means in order to be able to support some of the energy consumption of the Aquatic Center with resources that we have at the Aquatic Center. And so be more self-sufficient. And we feel as though these are opportunities that if we can demonstrate at the Aquatic Center, we can repeat at other similarly situated businesses. They can be programs that can be developed by businesses as well as then at residences. And so it starts with continuing on the promise of 100% clean energy, but it's being able to work our way down to the customer side and to try and figure out what we can do in order to be able to provide the incentives and the business case that they could use in order to be able to be self-sufficient themselves.
That's awesome, Tim. Thanks for elaborating on the Aquatic Center as well. Danielle, would you like to add comments on that?
I mean, we started with the answer that just listened to Danielle, so I
Yes,
think that was
yeah.
a pretty
Yeah,
good
that's-
answer.
that was- yeah. I mean, he said to flip it to Danielle, and then he gave us a lot of information, which was awesome.
But I
So
think
Danielle,
I think it does demonstrate. We do have
Yeah.
a really good working relationship,
I
not
can
just
see
between
that.
me and AMP, but the city as a whole and AMP, which are
Yes,
really
yeah.
part of the same organization. We have the same goals, and we're working in the same direction.
you're a great team. That's why I have
That's
both
right.
of you together here.
That's right.
So I have another question that we'll start with you with. Okay. So what are some of the unique opportunities that Alameda sizes, location, and value offer when it comes to bringing a model sustainability for our city?
Alameda is just such a unique community. Alamedans care so much about the community. They care about the people. They care about the environment. They care about the what our community, the form of our
Yes,
community, what
yeah.
our community looks like. They're really passionate and engaged, and they want to work together to ensure that we can thrive for the long term. And I think that's kind of what we're all talking about here is, we talk about reducing greenhouse gas emissions and, the accounting that sort of goes into that. And are we 29% of the way towards our goal? But I think ultimately what we're talking about is how do we make a community that people want to live in for the long term, that's safe, that's comfortable, that's good for the environment, where we can enjoy and live in. And I think that's what Alamedans care about too. And so we're talking about ways that we can have those reach those goals in a way that's sustainable and that we can live here. So we work closely with, there's so many organizations in Alameda that we can work with that share these goals and are really passionate, working on the environmental side in particular. I think part of Alameda that's really unique too is we're just kind of just the right size. Like we're big enough that there's really interesting things. There's so much that's happening. We're right in the middle of the San Francisco Bay Area,
Right.
where there's so much innovation and creativity that's happening. But we're also kind of small enough that we all know each other and
Oh,
we all know
yes.
how to work together. And so I think there's kind of this idea, we make a good test bed. We can test ideas and test them out. We can demonstrate leadership, and we know how to make them happen because we're just kind of that right size. I think we all know that climate change will impact the most vulnerable among us the most. And I think that's another area where Alameda can really shine, and making sure that we think about those neighbors who are really going to struggle the most, at the most risk of being displaced or being burdened by high costs of things like energy or high costs of groceries and housing. And so working together to ensure that we can all meet each other's basic needs and help out our community, I think is another way that Alameda can model being a sustainable city.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. And I like what you said. We're big enough to serve the needs of the businesses and the residents here, but we're small enough to know each other, correct?
Yeah,
Everybody says that
absolutely.
about Alameda. We
Yeah.
love that.
It's great.
Okay, Tim, the next question comes to you first. And let's talk about the business cases for sustainability. How does Alameda's focus on clean energy and climate resiliency support the local community and the economy to attract forward-thinking businesses?
We're not going to be able to make progress.
You promise we're not going to be able to?
We're not going to be able to make
Okay.
progress if we don't have the support of the community. And so the approach that we've taken is that our intent is to be able to foster job development with the different programs that we're supporting. The programs also assist in being able to reduce the cost of using our services
Yeah.
at our businesses and families. And then I think that it goes back to the point that Danielle made a moment ago, and that is that what we're doing is we're fostering the identity that you can sense within this community, and that is that people are sensitive to the way that we impact the environment, and so by I think providing our services in a way that create jobs, that reduce the cost of using our services, and it meets the image that the community has of itself. That those are the means by which we're supporting the sustainability initiatives that we have underway.
Thank you, Tim. The next question is going to, no, you're going to add comments to that.
I don't have any comments.
You
to
don't
add
have
to
any
that.
comments to that?
No,
Okay.
perfect.
So I'll come to you then with this question. What can small and medium-sized businesses do right now to align with the city's sustainability goals, and where can they get help?
So I hope Tim adds to my answer here, but I think there's a lot of ways that the community and the business community in particular can contribute and align with our sustainability goals. We've been talking a lot about energy, and businesses and residents can both kind of invest in AMP, and they can invest in clean energy by switching their appliances to ones that run on electricity, their appliances and their vehicles, and they can tap into and really utilize that clean electricity resource that we have. It not only saves money because of AMP's low rates that are so much lower than PG&E's, but some of that revenue returns to the city's general fund
Yep.
and allows us to then invest as a city in some of these projects that we've been talking about that make the city such a high quality place and livable place to live. So that's one way. Businesses can also focus on zero waste. That's another pillar. We have a whole nother zero waste implementation plan that's in development
Yes.
too. So we haven't really talked about that too much, but particularly the restaurant sector, we really need to transition away from plastic to go containers, reducing our waste, focusing on compostable and reusable containers. And we have Okapi cups in Alameda and many of the cafes where you can get a reusable coffee cup to go and return it to the cup. So that's a great, and I know there's ideas about expanding beyond just coffee cups to other kinds of reusable to go
Yeah.
containers. And then I think that also goes to, proper waste sorting. That's always an ongoing challenge, is what goes in the recycling bin, what goes in the compost, and just being a little bit
Yes.
thoughtful about
Yeah.
what goes in the right place.
Yeah.
We don't want to contaminate our waste stream, and we really have pretty amazing composting services that we have access to in Alameda. So making sure your employers and your customers do a really good job at that. And then urban greening. Planting trees, planting native, removing lawns and replacing them with drought tolerant native landscapes. We did that at City Hall, and it's really beautiful.
It's amazing. I saw it.
It's a really great
Yeah.
it's a really great way to sort of green up your space,
Yes.
your business or your home. And of course, businesses can install EV chargers for their employers or for the community. There's lots of resources both on the AMP website and the city's website to take advantage of. And then I would just say, get involved with the community. We have public utility board meetings, we have city council meetings, we have planning board meetings and transportation commission
Yes.
meetings. So there's lots of opportunities to make your voice heard, to get involved. And there's lots of committees all the time and public workshops that you mentioned.
Yes.
So I would just encourage businesses to be involved in that if they want to shape that conversation.
Thanks, Danielle. Do you have anything else to add to that, Tim?
I would, and maybe this will come across as a public service announcement in support of a point that Danielle made, but it's, she said, investing in AMP. And I think it's important for people to understand what that means. AMP is customer owned. We don't have shareholders. Any dividend that is realized as a result of what we do is reinvested in the community. These investments are steered toward our energy efficiency programs, the rebates that we have, and so they reflect the the values of this community because, as I said earlier, our board members make our policy decisions. They decide where it is that we're going to invest our money, and the members of our board are appointed by the mayor. They are part of the community. And so when my board members tell me that they were approached in the grocery store, it's by one of you that are out in the community, and you know these people. And so when you follow Danielle's advice and you are investing in AMP, what you're really doing is investing in the community that we
Correct.
support. And we rely on our board members in order to be able to have a pulse of the community, in order to be able to give us the guidance that is necessary for us to be able to stay true to the value of the community. And so that's what comes to my mind when I hear the advice that Danielle makes in regard to investing in AMP. It's investing in the community.
That's true. And I love your collaboration. So I have one final question for both of you. And the final question is, what's one thing you're most optimistic about when it comes to Alameda's sustainability future?
The community is what gives me a lot of optimism. We've been talking about
Yeah.
how innovative, how creative,
Yeah.
how forward-looking the community is. This community is going to make sure that we meet our goals. We have some pretty lofty goals around sustainability and clean electricity here in Alameda, but I know that we're going to achieve them because the community is going to make sure that we do. And I think that it's an opportunity for us to really demonstrate at the local level that kind of leadership that's maybe lacking in some of the other levels of government right now. But it gives us an opportunity to really demonstrate that we can make this happen. We can achieve climate goals in a way that also makes our community a place that we all want to live and raise our families and grow our businesses. And so I think that's what gives me hope, is that this is a community that we're going to keep investing in, and those successes are going to lead to more success.
You nailed it right, Danielle. It's the community. It's true. Tim, anything you want to comment on
Well,
this?
how could I even respond after you
After,
pointed
yeah.
out, that she nailed it?
Yeah.
I agree completely,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that being an outsider, it's very, very evident to me
You're
that
not an outsider anymore. You're in the island now.
um, we can talk about that at another time.
Okay. All right.
But no, I think that resiliency and forward thinking are in the DNA of the members of this community. And so you're just not going to escape being able to make progress on the goals and objectives that are set forth in the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan.
You said it right too, by the way. Yeah. Resiliency, community, innovation, forward thinking, all these are amazing for our island. We're very fortunate to have Danielle with us at the city. We're very fortunate to have you as the general manager of Alameda Municipal Power here. Thank you both for being here today. And we look forward for another session next month. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and to the chamber.
Absolutely. Thank you.